Hey everybody, welcome back to the Horror Vault. Today is going to be a video that I've been umming and ahhing about doing for a while. It's to do with mental health, and I know some people are going to find that subject a bit, ooh, I don't want to touch that subject, better click away or be offended or whatever. Do bear in mind that I do have mental health issues, so don't be offended by anything that I say, and if it's different for you, then it's different for you. It's not the same for everybody with everything. So, with that sort of put there in place, I'm going to tell you, people that know me personally, and a few other people tend to know this anyway, but I do, as I have mentioned in previous videos, I do have OCD, which some of you probably already know what it means, but those who don't know, it means obsessive compulsive disorder. Now, I've had that since I was about 16, but going back through, if you look back at childhood and things, probably it was evident there and then, but at the time there was no real diagnosis to this sort of thing. Of course, you have to take some form of medication. There's different types of stuff. There's cognitive therapy and all those, just talking to somebody, all that kind of things. Personally, I didn't find any of those helped for my OCD. So my OCD is to do with germs. So using a public toilet is a big no, because there's always that fear of, oh, I've gone to the toilet, I wash my hands, and then turn around, open the door, and hang on a minute, what if the person before me didn't wash their hands? And then I go, well, there's germs all over my hands. See, that sort of things go in my head. There's loads of other stuff as well, but mainly it's germs, and I like everything to be tidy in its correct place. As you can tell from behind, everything has to be organised, and if there's a routine, I have to stick to the routine and do that there and then. And if I've got something to do, I have to do it there and then. So if I'm doing something, some form of gardening, for instance, that has to be done there and then. If I'm starting it, it has to be finished there and then. I mean, of course, there is some ways where you can't be helped, money and all those types of things, but generally, I tend to want to get stuff done there and then, get it over and done with. But yeah, that's the OCD side of me, which can be hard at times, especially with say things like going on routines, I suppose. Say like I catch the bus, and I like to be at places early rather than late, which is probably standard for most people, but I like to be there early, definitely early. And if a bus is running late, I get really anxious and anxiety starts kicking in. I start getting that cold sweat and a small eye back, and it just feels ugh. But yeah, I get all that. So that's the sort of the OCD side. But the other side that people probably don't know about me is that I actually have Asperger's syndrome. Now, a lot of people probably know that is Sheldon from Big Bang Theory is probably what a lot of people tend to think. Oh, that's what Sheldon's got from Big Bang Theory. Or Rain Man is another thing, which is autism, which of course it's all on the same spectrum or umbrella or whatever they're calling it nowadays. But yeah, it all falls under that. So I have Asperger's syndrome, which is basically high functioning autism, and with that comes its own set of problems for people like me, or just people that have to deal with people like me. It's not an excuse. I'm not using it as an excuse. I'm just saying this is what I've got to try and make it a little bit easier for some people to try and understand when it comes face to face. Because I like this, I'm on here, perfectly fine. If I'm in a small group of people, like very close friends or family members, I will be quite open, but that group gets bigger, I'll be really quiet and I become the wallflower. I'm the man that's stood in the corner at the party, not doing anything and just wishing he wasn't there, even though he was invited and he had very much the choice of not going or going, but had to go for some reason. But yeah, so this is some of the stuff that comes have to deal with. So there's having trouble detecting social cues and body language. Social cues, big time. I have major trouble with social cues. I tend to have this thing of if somebody asks me something, I will hear what they're saying, but my mind reads it or transfers it into something a little bit different than probably what other people would hear. So I hear it and then I just say something. So, for instance, it's just an example. I don't know. Somebody says, "Oh, what do you think of this? Do I look great in this?" And I'll just say, "To be honest, you look fat." It's not what they're looking for. I know it's not what they're looking for after the fact, but they said they wanted an honest answer. So I think at the time they respect the fact. They're a bit annoyed at the answer that I've given them, but after a while they sort of respect the fact that I've given them the honest answer they probably didn't want, but it's there and then. So yeah, that's sort of social cues. This is an example. It's not really one that I've had to come across very often, but it has been there. And there's loads of other stuff as well. Body language is another thing. I would never know if either somebody's, I don't know, somebody's flirting. I suppose that's a thing, flirting, or just generally whatever emotion they're trying to purvey at the time. I just completely blank. I have actually no idea. I tend to try and work it out, but it's usually too late after that. I've worked out the wrong thing. I probably annoyed that person in some form or fashion. Again, not on purpose, but it does tend to happen. Another thing is having difficulty with maintaining conversations and knowing when it's my turn to speak. So somebody would say something, and I'll listen. They've asked a question, but I didn't hear the question is either a rhetorical question or whether it's a question I need to answer. So they say something, so then I go, well, you can ask me or not. Oh, you wanted me to? Oh, okay. So then I have to to repeat the question sometimes to answer it, which does make things a little bit difficult, especially if it's a hard question for them to ask, which does happen a lot. But I tend to try my best to try and understand what's going on at that time. And then there's the whole thing with, I don't know, in a group of people, more than 3, a group of people, and people are all chatting and talking to each other, and then I got that thing of, oh, is it my turn to talk now? Shall I jump in now? Is it my turn to talk? Especially when it goes quiet, and I think, oh, I'll have to say something. And then it either go really well, and everybody would just fall flat, and the conversation would just continue amongst those 3 people or whatever. Okay, I'll continue with my cup of tea here then, all by myself. But yeah, that's the thing. And then the thing that a lot of people tend to hear when it comes to Asperger's syndrome is lack of empathy. Appear to lack of empathy for other people and their feelings. Yeah, the feelings bit, definitely. I definitely have trouble with that. People's feelings, I'm completely oblivious to it. Kind of like a robot, I suppose. That's another thing that people tend to get with Asperger's. You're a robot, or what's the other thing I've heard? You're a Vulcan. That's another thing. A Vulcan from Star Trek, all that kind of stuff. Kind of amuses me, but it's probably not what they wanted. But so yeah, you have that, and so of course, if somebody, I don't know, we discovered a more extreme version. If somebody's died, that's a very sad thing to deal with for that person. But I can't see how everything is affecting them emotionally and all that kind of thing. I suppose I can see that person has died, but I don't understand why it's probably more of an understanding thing of understanding why that's affecting them in such and such a way. But that's just some things that happen with people with Asperger's. One's people that can deal with it perfectly fine, they've got Asperger's, they can understand it. then there's people on the other side that have a difficulty of understanding certain things, which is generally tend to be me. And then, of course, there's the bit that comes across with the OCD bit and the Asperger's, which is dealing with changes, disliking changes and routines. Before I continue, I'm going to dip my drink because I'm sounding like a frog. Got a strawberry milkshake. So, yeah, disliking changes, as I mentioned previously about the bus routines, or I had this years back when somebody said, "Oh, you should come to my house. Come to my house." And I went, "Oh, okay, I'll come to your house." And spent all the time walking up there, got there, and another friend of theirs had turned up and I was going out with them. That really annoyed me. And I never really forgave that person. Really, it's a petty little thing when you think about it in the long run. But for me, that was annoying. And I didn't like it because they had specifically told me to be there on a specific time, and then they planned to go somewhere else, which is a big no-no for me. This is before I was diagnosed with Asperger's. I've been diagnosed with Asperger's since 2000 and I want to say 16. I think 2000, later 2016, I believe it to be. So, of course, there's a lot of things that's happening, or look, things that happen, and then I go, "Oh, that would explain why that's happened." Also, didn't understand it. I just thought that was a weird quirk that I had. Just everybody has a little quirks, and that was fine. But there's things now I sort of look back and I think, oh, that's why. Oh, this happened because of that. So, oh, it's all making sense now. And then the other thing is employ a formal style of speaking using complex words or phrases despite not fully understanding the meaning. Now, for me, I understand the meaning of the words that I'm saying. But yeah, I do tend to have a wide vocabulary of words that I use. So I will tend to say stuff that I perfectly fine understanding, know what it means and whatever. But I don't know if the person that I'm saying to understands what I'm saying. Whatever word I would say, I can't think of an example of him, but I don't know, rhetorically, most people tend to know what rhetorically is, but say rhetorical, and then I'll say something like that, and then or whatever. So I have that thing where I can be talking, I'll say something, and they may or may not understand completely what I'm saying, but I'm completely oblivious to that. So I continue. Yes, that is a John Cena thing. That wasn't my intention. You can see me, but there is the it's the thing of not understanding whether they understand what I'm saying, and vice versa, because they could say something really completely simple. My mind's trying to pick it apart and make it into something more elaborate. Do you want cheese on toast? Why, of course I want cheese on toast. I want cheese on toast on this sort of bread, or that slice of cheese, and I want butter on this bit. You know, it turns into that. It's just one big giant story that happens. No, just cheese on toast. That'd be fine. Yeah, that happens a lot. And what's that thing? Being unable to recognise subtle differences in speech tone, pitch, and accent that alter the meaning of other speech. So I suppose it's that whole thing. If somebody's angry, they're talking, and I don't know if they're annoyed with me or they're annoyed with what's going on. Or sometimes I've had it where I've been with somebody and then they go, "Oh, this is such and such meeting," and they'll be talking a certain way, and I think, that, or that person's very angry. Why are they saying it? Then, but not actually realise that's actually just their normal speaking voice. Then you got the other bit where they could be saying stuff that I have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, especially sort of lingo and sort of things in certain areas, the UK and other countries. I ain't got a clue what you're talking about. Just say it in the normal way. Why do you have to overcomplicate it with, I don't know, dogs, testicles, and all these types of things? It's either good or it's bad. It doesn't need to be over explained in that situation. But yeah, there's loads of other stuff. Accents, I tend to be okay with accents, but it's still that thing of I don't understand if that person's angry or whether whether they're just talking to me in a general way. So I don't know. It's very complicated sometimes. And then another thing is having difficulty when playing games which require the use of imagination. I tend to not have had that. I don't really remember as a kid. I didn't really have loads of people I play. I've had a select few people, a bit like now, I suppose. The select people that I talk to and I go to see and whatever. But back then it was you see your school friends and maybe you'd go out to places, parties or see your next door neighbour and all that type of thing. But generally I tend to just play it on my own. Just go out and play my own with Action Man or some dinosaurs or something. I'll just go out and go climb a tree or something. Just general stuff that people tend to do. So there's a lot of that. So use of imagination, probably not in the sense difficulty playing games, but I tend to use my imagination now for doing my writing, which I find helps because it gets out some of the things that's in my mind and I can write it down and maybe it will make a good story somewhere along the line. And yeah, I don't know, maybe, hopefully make a good story. Another thing is have a limited range of interests, which he or she may be very knowledgeable about. Strangely enough, this channel is called The Horror Vault, so I'm pretty sure you're going to kind of gather what my knowledgeable database thing is about. So, not just horror itself. When I was a kid, and even now, it's dinosaurs. Big fascination with dinosaurs. I could name you a dinosaur just by looking at it and go, oh, that's such dinosaur. Or that's dinosaur. That one eats plants, or that one eats meat, or it's an omnivore, and this lived in that period, or lived in this period. And you could find they only found fossils of this certain area or that certain area. Loads of stuff like that. And now, along with that, it's films. So a lot of films, not just horror films. Films in general. I can tell you the year of a film without even looking it up most of the time. I mean, I've had occasions where I've had family members go, "What's that film with such and such are in?" But they can't remember who it is, and they describe the person, and I go, "Oh, that's this person," and then they go, "Oh, yeah," and then they tell me a bit more about what they're all about, and I go, "No, that's not that film. That's this film." So I go, "What film is that? What year is that from?" And I'll say the year, and I go, "Oh, okay." And then look it up. Oh, surprised of the knowledge of what I've got. So I've tended to use that knowledge now for developing the website and using it for that. So it has its uses. So that's what I'm using it for, and obviously hopefully developing into doing writing of short stories and hopefully publishing them somewhere along the line if possible. Maybe, touch wood, touching his desk, he says. And then again, it's have poor handwriting and late development in motor skills such as catching a ball or using a knife or fork. So that's just an example. So a lot of these are examples for when you're a child and they could pick it up there and then. I mean, I was diagnosed as an adult, so a lot of the stuff sort of look back then and go, oh, then it would have made sense because you can read it now. But I'm obviously an adult, so sort of looking back at things. So yeah, I don't have trouble with catching a ball using a knife and fork, and catching a ball and poor handwriting and all that type of things. But social skills and all that kind of thing, completely rubbish with. If you came up to me one-on-one, I might be okay. Once I've worked out you and why you're talking to me and all that kind of stuff. But in a group, no, big no-no. And then another thing is have heightened sensitivity and become overstimulated by loud noises, lights, or strong tastes or textures. Now, if you've seen the Japan Crate videos, you would know that I'm a big thing with textures. Textures of foods, definitely. A texture, it has something in my mouth and I'll eat it, and then I'll go, nope, that doesn't, nope, not for me. And I'll to get rid of it right there and then. Or it's looking at something, so like a food, I can look at something and I'll go, nope, that does not look appetizing. If everybody else is going, that's, I don't know, like a curry or something. They go, wow, that's an amazing looking curry. I just go, nope, that just looks like a baby's nappy emptied on a plate of rice. It's not for me, thanks. So we pushed away. I have tried curries, and some of them have been nice, but it's still very much that visual thing for me. I just, no. Sensitivity-wise, it's noises, so like those cat scaring alarm things that people don't have in the car. It's supposed to be that you can't hear them, but I can pick it up, and it's really annoying when you go past it. Or going to sleep, and I don't have a clock anywhere, you know, like a ticking tick 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 clock of digital clocks, but I don't have a ticking clock because I just find them annoying trying to sleep at night. And all I can hear is tick 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 tick. That just drives me even more insane. So yeah, it really annoys me. And then there's, you know, loads of other noises that bug me as well, and I tend to try and ignore them, but sometimes you can't. Just, or somebody's doing a noise, and it's just that really irritating for me. So the irritating level of pitchness that's pierces right through. I just find it really annoying. Lights is another thing. Really intense lights I can't stand. So I don't know. For instance, I don't drive, and I would never be driving a car at any time. I never have an intention to, but I would never be able to drive a car anyway, because especially if it's nighttime driving, and I always find people always have their headlights on really strong, so you're driving down the road and you get these big beam of light in your face, and it just, for me as a passenger seeing, it's just really annoying, and I wouldn't be able to cope with it as a driver. I'd probably swerve into a tree or something, but I should laugh at that, but that's probably what would happen. So yeah, there's all that sort of thing, but that's just some of the stuff that I had to deal with on a day-to-day basis. It's stuff that they classify normal people as doing very simply, but people with autism or people on autism spectrums, for me as Asperger's, I tend to see it as two different things. I know it's now listed as a whole new spectrum, but for me, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, so that's what I have. So yeah, a lot of these things I mentioned, probably for most people, very easy to do, very, you know, it's just one of the things to do day to day. But for me, it's quite hard to focus on a day-to-day basis and try and keep pushing forward and understanding what's going on with that person or this person or that situation. I know some people I've spoken to don't really understand it, so it's kind of hard trying to explain what's going on in your mind to somebody else who doesn't really understand it. So hey, it's like a lot of things. Yes, it's not like a physical impairment. You know, if somebody said, "Oh, I drive in their car and they parked their car in a disabled bay," and then but you can't park there. You've perfectly fine. You can walk. You've got legs. And then the person rolls up the crowd leg and reveals that they've got, you know, a false leg. And of course, they're allowed to be there because it's a simple disability. It's physical impairment. You can look at somebody and go, "Oh, that person's got that." Or, you know, somebody's got a hearing aid. You can say, "Oh, that person's deaf." You can understand. But with mental health, it could be quite troublesome because sometimes you're just a really quirky person, or many other things that people tend to get called, or people just don't understand it, so they tend to just not disown you, because that'd be weird. But I know it does happen to some people. But you'd be talking to them and they go, "Oh, I won't talk to that person because they don't understand." For me, it's obviously the empathy thing. People won't talk to me about a lot of things because, quote unquote, I won't understand it, which is fine. You know, I get it. You don't want to talk to me about it. But for me personally, I don't overly mind, because what would be the point of talking to me about something I'm not going to understand? It'd be like me talking to you about giallo films. That you're a person who only watches, I don't know, anime or something. You wouldn't have any idea what I'm talking about, probably. Some people would, but others, if you just really focus on that one thing, you wouldn't know what I was talking about at all. So it's it's one of them things, isn't it, where people have their own little world, I suppose, and they focus on that. So that's what my little world is: horror films and dinosaurs and my kids. That's my focus. I focus on all that. That's my main focuses in life, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So, of course, there's always that question of, don't you get lonely? To be honest, not really, no, because I've got a lot going on in my mind. So I'm always busy doing something anyway. So I'm always busy doing things on my own or with my kids. So I'm busy doing something anyway. But yeah, so that's for me. My mental health is Asperger's syndrome and OCD. I do suffer with sleeping as well, which is why I tend to do a lot of my videos later at night, hence the curtains are usually shut. I tend to do my videos late at night because I'm wide awake. Even though I take my sleeping tablets, I can take my sleeping tablets, and sometimes they won't kick in for a good hour or two, and I'll be like, ah. Sometimes read a book, watch stuff on YouTube, watch a film, and all type of things. Well, today it's just have a chat to you, lovely people, on YouTube, which, to be honest, I found been helping me quite a bit, sort of get stuff off my mind. So, yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my videos, and obviously subscribing if you subscribed, and liking, leaving comments, all that. I do appreciate that. I mean, my face may sometimes look completely blank, I know, but that's not. That's just generally me in general. If it's something I'm really excited about, then my face is just generally stoic. You know, kind of. Yeah, he's a grumpy-looking bugger. This is my face, but generally, no. I would probably appear to be quite happy and jolly if you start speaking to me, and I got into talking to you or whatever. But in general, I'd walk around and I'd probably look like a right grumpy bugger, which, you know. So yeah, that's this little chat about mental health. You know, a bit more about me. Of course, if you want me to do a question and answer video about anything, leave your questions down below. I'll compile them all up eventually, and I'll just do one big giant Q&A video about anything. You can ask me personal stuff to a reason. I mean, I'll be picking the questions that I will be answering. So there'll be some questions I would have thought that people will ask, and I'd be like, oh, I guess that's a little bit too personal for my liking, so we won't answer that one. But or at least in the video anyway. So yeah, just leave any questions you want me to do in a possible Q&A video. But yeah, that's a little bit more about me and my mental health, and hopefully you know a little bit more about me now and how I deal with things and all that type of thing. But yeah, of course, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit the red subscribe button down below if you want to subscribe and become a member of the Horror Vault. And if you want to keep an eye on the videos coming up, hit the notification bell. As I mentioned, comment if you want to do a further Q&A videos. Just anything, any comments really. And just thank you for watching. I'll see you in this video. Bye for now.